live stream where I do random stuff around the house and use it as an opportunity to chat with you guys, answer your all's questions, and just in general, vibe, because I don't have much going on right now. I have work, of course, as usual, especially as we prep for Australia, which, by the way, you guys have been giving me some amazing advice on things to bring to Australia and, like, snacks and stuff to basically, like, torture the Australians with. It's like, I mentioned this on stream the other day. It's very much the same thing as giving a Victorian child, like a sickly Victorian child, like a McDonald's Sprite, right? It might just cause them to pass out. And so we're getting them, of course, the Australians are naturally going to have some sour candies, some, I think it's Warheads? No, Toxic Waste are the more sour ones. So I'm gonna get those. They also demanded some cheesy candies, and we're gonna teach them what s'mores are like and things like that. Hi, DBCU and Cyber Ninja. Gus says, what did I just walk into? So I just need to do my nails. So I figured I'd have something to do with my hands while I talk to you guys and yap with y'all. Also, I've gotten in a couple of ideas for upcoming content. I'm thinking I might do something with regards to like best holiday one-shots to do here soon. Maybe like a long form video, or maybe just a short form video talking about like all these different one-shots that you can run for, you know, the Christmas time season or for Halloween especially. Like those two holidays are perfect for holiday one-shots, and especially because it gives someone else in the group a chance to just prep like not a lot of stuff and give the DM a break for once. So I always recommend that people do holiday one-shots. So I might do a video like that coming up. If you guys know of any, let me know. Comment it somewhere. Let me know in the Discord, and then, you know, anything like that, because I would love ideas. I only have a couple on my shelf so far, which are like, you know, Haunted Carnival type one-shots. This is all in D&D, by the way, or a couple like Let's Fight Krampus style like Christmas one-shots. So if you guys know of any, let me know. But hi, Notstar Pay. Hey. And then Gus, hello. Max Hiller says, my group is doing a Halloween mini campaign in Legends of the Mist. I've actually never heard of Legends of the Mist. Is that different than City of Mist? Is it different than Mist Lost? Because I know there's a bunch of Mist-related TTRPGs out there. Dude, I also got word of the craziest TTRPG. It is really fucking intense. I'm really excited to show you guys. I hope it was part of a sponsored deal. Someone reached out, and it's a company that you guys are familiar with. And they reached out and they were like, hey, we're producing this thing based off of this IP here soon. And we would love to work with you to promote it. And they were like, I can't tell you what it's about. Oh my God, it's so cool. I hope that they say yes to what I sent them as far as like rates and stuff go, because I really do want to work with them. And I think you guys would fucking love it. But that's like a new TTRPG that I heard that's coming out. Other than that, I'm trying to expand my repertoire quite a bit. I think last night, the latest indie TTRPG video came out, where on YouTube, I was talking over all these different TTRPGs that you can play that aren't D&D if you want to change a pace, or like different level of difficulty, different number of players. There's some solo ones in there, things like that. Max Hiller says, Legend of the Mist is a fantasy version of City of Mist. Really? How have I not heard of this? Also, Gus says, do you have a 3D printer? I kind of assume you do, but I'm just curious. I actually don't. I live in a pretty small apartment. At this point, I'm running out of space for everything, and so I don't think I could have the room or the ventilation or whatever you'd need for a 3D printer, but I've been told several times I should get into it. It's actually, I've gotten, I think, did I send you guys the Eldritch Foundry code yet? Mustafa, hi. Hi, Walter. And Venusa says, is she AI? God, no. I'm way better for the environment. Not unless, I mean, don't look at my plant, but, you know, they're all dying. Beyond that, though. Let's see. Maureen Leonard says, hey guys, just wanted to let you know that Jesus loves you and died for your sins. Well, better make it worth it, chat. And let's see. Kyle says AI wishes they could be Diana. Yes, indeed. But yeah, what else are you guys playing right now? And what other, if you guys are doing any holiday one-shots, what's coming up? What's on the roster? Do you guys have any? Are you also like making sure that someone else is GMing? Because I know a lot of my audience base are GMs, and I want to make sure that other people kind of like switch in and make sure that they have a chance to GM as well. Circus Call says, what's this channel about? I'm new here. Hi, my name is Diana. I'm a TTRPG content creator, so I talk about Dungeons and Dragons and all sorts of like nerd stuff, board games, video games, tabletop games, all that sort of thing. I stream just here like only once a week or so. But yeah, Mimi says talking on Beth. I talk really fast. I'm Latina. It comes with the territory. Hi, Edward from South Africa. Hi, Michael. Let's see. Circus Cult says Warhammer. Not quite. I have a couple of Warhammer Age of Sigmar things up there that a friend sent me ages ago. But I haven't played the game. But yeah, let's see. Let's Ahmed says, have you played Dungeons & Siege? I haven't. And let's see. Gus says we got some of those in my engineering class. Oh, 3D printers? Yeah, 100%. We used to have a 3D printing library essentially at my old college, which was super fun. And you could go in and just pay a little bit of money, send them the engineering students an STL file, and they would get you whatever you needed in whatever color you needed. But yeah. Kyle Conrad's. Oh wait, Circus Cult says, why are you cutting your cuticles? To get me a little bit more room to work with, I have to have my nails done basically by this weekend for when I leave for Australia, and they need to last throughout the entirety of Australia, which is about 2.5, maybe 3-ish weeks, which means I gotta cut these cuticles to make sure that I have some wiggle room there. Lion John says, I like your voice. Oh my gosh, thank you. And then Link says, have you played Pathfinder? I haven't. I really haven't. I should. But at the same time, I'm pretty trenched into D&D, so when it comes to D20-based systems, I tend to go for D&D, and that's where the majority of the library behind me falls into. So like all of that sort of stuff that's behind the razor chair is D&D related, or very mildly like off-topic TTRPG related, but very close to D&D. Also, Den Kono says, are you a fan of Call of Cthulhu 7e? If so, what's your favorite time period / campaign / scenario? I'm actually not a huge Call of Cthulhu person. The basic RPG system is, I want to work within it more, but I know it's basically only, God, it's not Chaosium. It is Chaosium. It's basically only Chaosium games. And so I don't know. I want to, but I also don't like Eldritch horror. And that's my thing when it comes to Call of Cthulhu, is like that unfathomable horror that you can't actually fight is really not my thing. So I tend to go for horror in the form of Cult. Powered by the Apocalypse games even are a little bit better about that. And then D&D also has some amazing horror supplements, to the point of making it so that like the one we talked about on stream earlier this week is a really good example. It's like you can actually, the creatures have stat blocks and you can actually fight them. So, but yeah. Let's see. My accent is awful. Yeah, that comes with being Oregonian. I've heard that I say, oh God, what is it? Something. I say something wrong. I can't remember. Someone told me that there was something I said wrong. But yeah, let's see. Gus says they're pretty nice. Price is high, but it comes with good quality, and we haven't gotten to push them too much, but should be able to something. It's nice having multicolor. Yeah. Let's see. And Mute Mime says horror supplements. I like the sound of that. Yeah, so we just talked about oh my gosh, what is it? It wasn't Cult, but we talked about Strange Light, which is essentially like the same thing as Call of Cthulhu, but more structured, where it's you're an investigator with an agency that investigates paranormal activities and tries to figure out the source of them and things like that. And so that's like way more horror than you normally see in D&D. So Gus says that was for the 3D printer. I love you just accepting it though. Oh yeah, multicolored filaments and things like that. Circus Cult also says it depends on how it's done. The way Lovecraft wrote it, it's not really practical and it's hard to translate into a game environment. Yeah, because it's a lot of, oh my gosh, it's a lot of like, it's existential horror, and the way that someone described it is you get a glimpse of something that is so beyond your comprehension, the equivalent of an ant finding out how engineering works or how a steam engine works, and then having to go back to your regular life after that, and it just drives you insane. And that seems a little too simplistic for me, or it's a little bit too difficult to translate into something that's workable for the player character and that has mechanics behind it. That being said, I'm also just not good with that sort of horror, so. Hello to Emotionless Records, and hi to Mel. Hello. Let's see. Cookie Darius says I'm a 3D printer master. Dude, there's some cool STL files out there. I used to walk through and roam through, God, was it? It's not My Mini Factory, is it? No, they do actual miniatures, like pre-made, but I used to look at the STLs for some horror miniatures because I would use those and then just modify a stat block for 5e and then use them as more horrifying, I guess, like creatures or templates for D&D. So that was always fun. Let's see. Max Hiller says I might be wrong about Legends of the Mist. It might just be City of Mists. Ah, gotcha. And Quill says, what's the end goal for your nails? So I do this like acrylic, this is my nail drawer, by the way. You guys can't see it, this right here. And I have these, I tried dip powder, didn't work out for me, so now I use these etched nail tips. I glue them on seal them with UV, and then do a French tip because it's just easy. And it's also, if I sharpen them in a specific enough way, I can use it to open packages, which is really the point is utility, and also to not make my fingers look as nubby, if that makes sense. But yeah, as we approach Halloween, I am excited to do some more horror games. I still say that by far my favorite is Dread, for sure. But yeah. Oh, and Daniel says, hey, Diane, I have a D&D player who's wanting to do alchemy. So I want to do an alchemy system where they pick up ingredients and create potions like Skyrim. Any ideas of where I could find to start? Oh my gosh, yeah. So I would say you can honestly just rip things straight from Skyrim as well, where you could, DBC said knife fingernails, got it, yeah. You could even rip straight from Skyrim where you assign all these different plants to different properties. I actually have a book all about that, plants and rocks and things like that. I think it's not called The Alchemist's Guide to Minerals or The Alchemist's Guide to Plants. It might be something similar like that though. I saw it actually at a TTRPG convention, and it's a book that talks about real world plants and rocks and, you know, herbs and things like that. I know that herbs are a type of plant, shut up. And it talks about like all of their real world like superstitious properties and different ways that you can use it in a TTRPG. System agnostic as well. And so you could take that and then maybe like straight up like Skyrim, make it so that the player has to fiddle around and experiment with each ingredient before tossing 3 of them or more together into a potion and see what it does, and just combine essentially, you know, mix and match or make a table that determines what it does. So yeah. Let's see. Pete Giant says D&D started out to try and play, I can't read that word, picaresque adventures. Most TTRPGs do better with short stories, in my honest opinion. I feel like D&D falters, and this is not a hot take, by the way, D&D falters when it comes to higher level stuff. And not, they need to do more 1 to 20 adventures that aren't just dungeon crawls, you know? So, yeah. I mean, they have Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which you can use as a segue away from, oh my god, what is it called? What's the heist one? Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And you can kind of like move from Waterdeep Dragon Heist when you're at, I think it's 3rd level, and then go into Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which is a 3 to 20 mega dungeon. But I don't want to make a dungeon. I want like a real proper story that isn't just you being in one singular location and you're traveling around and you have real world consequences beyond just Undermountain itself, you know? Vito says it becomes much more difficult for sure. Also, Gus says, any tips for getting my group back together and scheduling? Yeah, there's 2 websites that I recommend when it comes to scheduling. Let Us Meet and When to Meet. It's lettuce spelled like as in ahead of lettuce, like the food, and then When to Meet is WHEN, the number 2, and then MEET. And both of those are really good for scheduling. You essentially send your party members in a group text or whatever, just a link to it. And then it basically like compiles everyone's availability into one big calendar. And yeah, that's the best way to look at everyone's calendar all at once and see when everyone's available. So yeah. Nicholas Taylor says you guys have friends to play with. Cries Indo games. Oh, that's where I recommend start playing. Is like the hardest part is finding a group to begin with, honestly. But yeah, hopefully that helps out with your scheduling. The amount of times I've just wanted to schedule random shit with my friends. Gus says, are they free? They are. And the amount of times that I wanted to just schedule random shit with my friends using like, I don't know, When to Meet or Let Us Meet just for normal stuff. Hi, I'm cool. Dad, thanks for the floating heart. Oh my gosh, that's sweet of you. I don't know what that means, but it's pretty. And Notzer says, can the email come with thumb screws and kidnap squads? God, I wish. Art Net, it says, do you do art? I do not, unfortunately. The closest I get is doing any sort of like, I guess miniature painting, but that's not something I do on camera or anything like that. And it's certainly not nail art. It's nail stumbling through it. Also, Vito says, do you have a preference for in-person or online playing TTRPGs? Yeah, I always think that the best TTRPGs are played virtually, but that depends on the TTRPG. Dread, I 100% do in person because you have no choice. And then with regards to things like D&D, I do those virtually because my virtual tabletop is Tailspire. So anything that I do is done with, you know, through Tailspire. Which means that I have to, you know, even if I'm playing in person, I'll still pull up a TV screen and show everyone what's happening because I don't have the ability to do terrain and things like that. Lily Moon says, as an artist, you 100% are an artist. Even simple French nails is a kind of art. Oh my gosh, also, Dan Kono says, Diana, what's your favorite convention, PAX U or Gen Con? Ooh, I would say definitely. My personal favorite is Gen Con, but I also know that it's a lot less accessible for a lot of people because the tickets are way more expensive than PAX Unplugged. PAX Unplugged is like, I want to say $100 for a 3-day pass. It lasts an extra day and it has all of the big names in the tabletop space, whereas PAX Unplugged is still kind of like, still gathering more and more names every year. They haven't quite reached the apex yet. But I would say, yeah, probably Gen Con. It's a lot harder for people to get to as well. Gus says, any cons near Ohio? Oh, God. I feel like I used to hear about some. I don't know any off the top of my head though, actually. If they're already in like the middle states, I don't really go to them. I've been to too many Gamescom exactly once, and that's about it. But Earl Warren says, how is Dread, and can we get roses and thorns for it? Yeah, Dread is amazing. So oh yeah, Origins. That was the one I was thinking of. Origins is like one of the big ones. It's essentially, it started at the same time as Gen Con, and then I think it was like a subset of it that split off, very similar to Gary Con. And of the two, Origins is about the same size to this day. It's just that Gen Con got more popular. So yeah. Brandon says you're here on YouTube today. Hi. Yeah, I try and do it every week on Thursday. I usually, if I'm busy, I'll move it to Friday, but I do try. But yeah, with regards to Dread, I really like the way that the physical aspect of the Jenga tower bleeds into your actual fear. Like, it doesn't matter what the GM is saying. So for those who don't know, Dread is a TTRPG where you use a Jenga tower instead of rolling dice to determine what happens. So you make up a character, the DM comes up with a scenario, there's no visuals, there's nothing else, you just have a Jenga tower in front of you, and anytime you try and do like a skill check or anything, you pull a block from the tower, which means if the tower falls, your character dies. It's a permadeath game, so it's really good for one-shots, and like the more difficult the thing you're trying to attempt is, I guess like the more blocks you have to pull in sequence. Sorry, that's the word. Which means if you're doing something really difficult, you might have to pull like 5 blocks one after the other out of the Jenga tower, and if it falls, again, you die. Which means that your actual your hands will start to shake. And the longer the game goes, yeah, Brendan, like you said, you do rebuild the tower after every death, but you draw more blocks away from it at the very beginning, so you have less to work with and it's less stable from the get-go. And so it's a lot of fun, and the tension really translates into the physical tension of the tower and, you know, trying to accomplish all these things while your GM is, you know, playing sound effects in the background. I don't know. I think it's fun. John Juice says, what are we talking about today? We're talking about TTRPGs. And then also Vito says, I played Dread after hearing about it from you, and we put a 15-second timer for each turn, and it was crazy. That would be wild. Gus. Also, oh wait, Francis says only when Jenga is lit on fire. And let's see. Clark Kent says, are you good enough for heaven? Ever lied or stolen before? Ever cursed? Oh, fuck yeah, I curse. Get out of here, buddy. Oh, that was the wrong person. There we go. Aha. And then we'll just undo that. Unhide. There we go. Fixed. But yeah. Emperor Onesies, welcome in. And then Pete Giant says, the players in my game, the thief players, have to stack a set of polyhedrals to not trigger a trap. Yeah, so moving things into, hi Dethan, moving things into the physical space is amazing. It's super cool. I love that sort of stuff. And it's similar to giving your players props, you know? Gus says, what are you doing in the Down Under? I am doing any sort of, I'm kind of doing like PAX Australia, but also a bunch of recordings with a bunch of TTRPG, I guess like spaces down there, and a couple of studios here and there. So I might be doing some guest spots. I'm going to be recording a live version of Worlds Apart, the world building podcast that I run, because my co-host and editor are both in Australia. So we'll be doing some episodes while I'm down there and bringing my mics and everything as best I can. And then beyond that, I'm going to be hanging out with Maddie and Kiki, the other Baldur's girlies, as we call them, my stream partners. Yeah, and we'll be at PAX Australia. So if any of you guys are going to be there, please come say hi. I have a meet and greet on Saturday as well. But yeah. Banjo Ben, hi. And let's see. Brandon Weaver says, what's your favorite puzzle you've implemented in your D&D games? I want ideas. Oh, favorite puzzle. Favorite puzzle. I really don't know. I feel like riddles are almost too easy. physical puzzles would work better. Something where it's like, I saw one once that was a series of runes set around a circle, and there was one empty space and the rest were runes in different slots, and you could slide them between each other in order to like move them around and spell something out or make it correspond to some other piece of information elsewhere in the dungeon. And I feel like that would be pretty cool, again, because of the physicality of it. Let's rock the doodle. Oh wait, hold on. Duncanau says, "Woo, PAX Australia. You're lucky to see the cast of Deerstalker pictures. I'm jelly. I've actually never heard of Deerstalker. Are they a TTRPG thing? Because there are video games and things like that as well." And Pete Giant says Rubik's Cube is better than guess what the DM is thinking. Yeah, riddles are fun, but they're too easy. At least in my experience. It's also like the same riddles over and over again that I found. And so they get a little too simple, But yeah, I also had someone say, "Are you aware of Discworld? There's a TTRPG for Discworld coming out. Any thoughts on this?" I actually haven't done anything to do with Discworld. I don't know anything about it. The lore is totally beyond me. I know there's a bunch of books, and I was talking to Ben Brainerd about it ages ago. He's a huge fan of the Discworld series, and so he was trying to hopefully work with Modifius to talk about it. And kind of getting word out there through his channel. I don't know if it ever worked out, but he is absolutely stoked about it. So he was vibrating with excitement when I told him, basically. But yeah, Duke says, "It's not really something you can sit and think about." Wait, not really something you can sit and think about for overly long isn't a riddle. Yeah, exactly. Earl Lauren says, "Deerstalker and Viva La Dirt League has some really awesome D&D and nerd culture videos." Oh, I've heard of Viva La Dirt League. I think I've seen them pop up on my For You page every now and then. Matt Jones also says, didn't know you had a podcast. Yeah, so the podcast is called Worlds Apart. It's here on YouTube at Worlds Apart TTRPG. We're on our 15th, I want to say, episode. Most recent one is where we introduce a special guest as well, and it goes a little off the rails, but it's so much fun. And it's quite literally just a podcast where my friend and I are world building off the cuff, fully improvised, and, kind of demonstrating some really solid principles of world building. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Dankota says, "Deerstalker Pictures will be doing a live play at PAX Australia. They've done a YouTube channel where they do parodies of D&D and Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, solid. Yeah, there are also some voice actors from Baldur's Gate 3 and things like that who are going to be there. So Brandon says, "I did one once. It was a lever puzzle, up, down, and middle for entering a rogue headquarters with a pulverizer pressure plate for activation." Oh, that's a puzzle? Did it, insta-kill them, though? Also, Finn the Ox says, "Have you seen the Yard D&D pod yet?" I haven't. I don't really listen to, so the consequence of being in the space and doing so much stuff as well as my day job is that I don't have a lot of time to listen to D&D podcasts. And honestly, I find that that's usually for the best. The best way to produce good content is to not listen to someone else's content, because it kind of kills your boredom, and not being bored can kill your creativity pretty quickly. So Tempiris says, "I got a half dragon bard." Oh, hell yeah. And Amira says, "Hi, hello. Do you crochet?" I don't. I used to ages ago when I was in elementary school. I want to say I tried it for a bit. I have gotten into polymer clay quite a bit, though. Astral Spectre says, "Unrelated question, how'd you choose your glasses?" These are completely fake. I have my actual contacts in, but since I'm not wearing makeup, I like to wear glasses to just kind of cover up that fact. But I think it was just off of some bullshit store online somewhere. They're just fake. Matt Jones says, "I love world building. I've been running the same homebrew world for 15 years. Hell yeah." And Gus says, "What do you do for work?" It's a remote job related to the pharmaceutical industry. I can't get into too much more detail because it's just niche enough that it would dox me. But Georgia Allen says, "Give us some ASMR." I can shake this. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, by the way. That's the closest I'm getting to wielding maracas. Earl Warren says, "How's the Monster DM screen doing?" It's doing good. I still have the old one, but the new one was a wooden version, a 1-for-1 version created by Thomas Tusano, which is fucking huge, fucking heavy. And if I ever GM live, at a convention or something like that, I'll absolutely bring it. The thing is, it's so heavy that getting it through the airport is going to be fucking insane. So, I don't know. Oh my gosh, also Vito Tennant says, "I want to tell you it's hard to have a bad day while watching your stream. You're awesome. Thank you for making me smile and have fun on your trip." Oh my god, thank you. Thank you so much. Holy shit. It's been wonderful having you, and thank you for the $20 tip. That does help a lot. Mostly because I slept through my lash appointment earlier today, and they still charged me 100% of the cost. So I ended up doing my lashes myself at home because I couldn't afford to redo it. Thank you, Izzy. And Cyber Ninja says, "How do I find people to play D&D? I used to play when I was a sophomore, and I kind of want to play again." Start playing is a really solid choice. Start playing, not games. Also, Amira says, "I'm making a leg warmer." Ah, yeah, that's amazing. Those are so cute when they're crocheted as well. Earl Warren says, your DM screen inspired me to upgrade my DM screen game. Yeah. Also, someone said, is there a Yahtzee in chat? I got rid of him, so we're good. Absolutely not in this chat. Goodness. But yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's honestly, the modularity of it is so much fun too. Having the clock in the middle was a concept that I didn't realize people hadn't already done before. And so like I thought that so essentially the premise was that in the very middle there was this middle section that had a 24 hour, yeah, it was a 24-hour clock actually, and it went through and you could move the hands to correspond to what time of day it is in game. So you as a GM can keep track of time movement, of like if you spend a long time doing downtime or traveling or things like that. It's there to basically be a visual for you, and you can more easily tell the party if they are in the middle of the evening or if it's daytime or if it's like lunchtime or something like that. So Amira says, can you help me with something? Ask and I'll respond, but I don't know if I can help with that necessarily. Here we are. And then, oh yeah, Pete Giant says, I like the fact that older rule sets are lighter and encourage rulings. Thoughts? I mean, that's kind of like the whole Rule Zero thing, and if every game doesn't already have Rule Zero, they should, because they really need to have just a general, kind of like what Kingdom Death has, right? Where they have it what's called the Rule of Death. Kingdom Death is a very hardcore tabletop game that is you're a colony surviving in a dark world, and it's got permadeath. It's a colony simulator, but with combat aspects as you play your villagers, your survivors, and things like that. And the concept of the Rule of Death is that if you're ever unsure of how something will go, or if you're ever unsure of, a ruling in a specific scenario, you have to go with whatever rule will kill your survivor or will be more deadly. And it's a way of basically saying, hey, the world is against you. So yeah. I think rules light is fun. I prefer rules heavy personally. I'm a big crunch girl. I like the crunchiness of games like D&D and things like that. But yeah. DTF says, I'm looking to create a cannabis card game. Do you have any interest in being a creative director? Definitely not, I fear. As I'm not a cannabis user, so sorry. Despite being from Oregon, not so much my personal vibe. But yeah, Vito says no survivors. That sounds like a fun challenge. It goes crazy hard. Also, the monsters are like so insanely intense that I can't show most of them on camera. I really wish I could, because they have a lot of like dicks and things like that. And so, but they're really fucking scary. It's one of those things again where I'm going to take the miniatures from that game and then move it into the the D&D space and just come up with a stat block for it. Mostly just to scare my players, and for the visual flavor. But yeah. Almira says, I'm using light blue yarn, but I don't know what color to use next. I would fade it into a teal and then go into green. But yeah. Brandon says, Oregon, huh? We're neighbors. Yeah, hell yeah. Let's see. But yeah. I had someone ask about rules light horror games. Besides Dread, because you do have to be in person to play that and you have to have a Jenga tower, I think 10 Candles is easily top tier. If you haven't heard of it, it's this game where you basically take a 10 tea light candles and you light them, and everyone determines not only their own starting traits, but the starting traits of the other player characters around them. And you are currently playing in some form of apocalypse. It could be aliens, it could be zombies, it could be just like nuclear war, it could be people are spontaneously falling over and dying, it could be you are the last survivors of something, right? And you have this light in fading darkness that is represented by the 10 candles. And whenever they go out, someone dies. It's either someone dies or they move on to the next scene, I think. I can't remember, but it's a very narrative type of game. I learned how to play ages ago, but I just love the concept of the candles being, again, that IRL indicator of how exactly the time is running out for your players. It's about hope more than anything, because everyone does die at the end. But yeah. Also, Earl says Blades in the Dark is also awesome for horror. I haven't played it yet. I need to add it to the collection for sure. It's one of the very few systems I don't have, especially because there's so many Forged in the Dark games. But I need to watch a playthrough of it as well. Charlie Greenwood also says, if you could have any pet, regardless of ethics or like logistics and things like that, absolutely rhino. And I don't know when I came up with that answer, but I've been asked this question a couple times now, and I feel like it's, I don't know, I feel like that's my my default answer. It'd be cool to have a walking tank, if anything. Plus, I wouldn't have to feed it meat, which is always nice. You don't have to worry about it. You know, it could attack me, sure, but at least it won't attack me for the purpose of trying to eat me, which is always good. It's why I'm kind of nervous to have a pet, you know? DVC said, the tank puppy. Yeah, and it'd be so cute as a puppy. Matthias says, our DM just had us fight a room of enchanted armor that acted like weeping angels. Dude, that's crazy cool. I love that sort of stuff too. And the fun way to do visual mechanics in things like D&D and games that don't normally have it is making it so that the party members and the players have to maintain eye contact with you, or they have to avoid eye contact with you. And every time that they make eye contact, then all of a sudden things get harder for them in the game or something like that. But yeah, I like that sort of stuff. Let's see. Someone said they would have a camel. Did you know that camels' humps aren't actually full of water? It's a myth. I don't know where it came from though. I used to know. It's one of those little things. Let's see. TV says, I was wondering if you could give me a D&D themed weird core mask. Ooh. My immediate thought, if it's D&D themed, is all of the essentially, like, you know Tiamat and how she has 5 different dragon heads? One is white, black, green, red, and oh my god, why am I forgetting the last one? Blue. I would make it so that there was a mask that instead of having 5 separate heads, it's all 5 heads just like stitched together in a really horrifying way on one body. Almost as like a, dude, that would be a great D&D creature too. Holy shit. Doing like a tribute to Tiamat, where you take a draconic body and you stitch the skin of 5 other dragons together and then enchant it in a specific way. It'd be cool. It'd be horrifying. But anyway, I have to skedaddle. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I appreciate all y'all hanging out here. Again, if you haven't checked out the podcast, I got a couple questions about that. It's at Worlds Apart TTRPG, or you can check my link tree in my link in bio, and it's right there. But it's just here on YouTube, so you can watch all the episodes right now. And then, yeah, beyond that, I'm going to be streaming from Australia here soon. So the next time you guys see me, I will be down under. And yeah, beyond that, I will see you guys hopefully on Monday. If not, definitely next Thursday. Appreciate all y'all. Have a good night. Bye-bye.